Hello friends, Namaskar. Uh, Today we are going to talk on the strategic policy of America. See, America uses a very typical diplomatic policies for all its foreign operations across the world. And the name of that policy is transactional policy. So what is transactional policy? Transactional policy means to develop a policy based upon the situation, right? So there are no permanent friends, no permanent foes, everything is transactional depending upon the situation. So for example, in the 1970s, when there was a cold war between Russia and US, the Americans used China as a friend to fight against the Russians, right? Now, at present, when when China is challenging America, they are trying to woo Russians towards their side, so that they can take on China, right? So the roles have changed. कल तक जो फ्रेंड था वो आज एनिमी है, जो एनिमी था वो आज फ्रेंड है. So this is the nature of this transactional policy. Even NATO जो इनका मेन, which is their main group और डिफेंस का जो वो है ग्रुपिंग है, that is also now being challenged, right? The Trump administration has said very clearly that all partners of NATO has to increase their budget defense, which means that America doesn't want to share the responsibility of NATO all alone, and so it's trying to get everyone involved. अभी तक क्यों नहीं किया था, right? The question is why not so far? The answer is again transactional. Now they don't want to focus on the Western world. Rather, their focus is towards the Eastern world, where the challenge is coming from China, basically. So again this. Again one more example. India, in which US invested for the last 25 years, right, as a strategic partner or whatever, right, is now being turned as a, if not enemy, at least as a country which is not needed, right? Needed means they can bully it. So this is also again an example of transactional. But do you think that this transactional policy of the United States is good in the long term? We think that, see, what is the reason for a good relationship between Russia and US, Russia and India? It's a long-term commitment. There is nothing like transactional. Russia has been supporting India, and that's why India was not hesitant to buy Russian oil, right, despite pressure from all sides. So this is called as long-term commitment. Unfortunately, America doesn't believe in long-term commitment. For them, everything is transactional because they want to retain their number one position. और नंबर वन पोजीशन रिटेन करने के लिए जब जैसी ज़रूरत होगी उसको वो अपना बाप बनाएंगे या उसको नीचा दिखाएंगे. टेक एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ पाकिस्तान ऑल्सो. ड्यूरिंग द लास्ट few years before this Trump 2 admin, Pakistan was kicked by US. Okay, they cheated on us and they betrayed us and everything. Now suddenly Pakistan's Army General is invited by President Trump for a lunch. Example of transactional policy, right? So this is a problem with US, which has made it as the most unreliable partner or country in the world. No one is now willing to believe this. You can't say President Trump only, but America, because before Trump also, America has pursued the same policy. However, America has been more than unfair towards India. The latest statement that is coming from Peter Navarro, who is counselor to President Trump, is very disturbing. He is saying that only Brahmins are profiting from this Russian oil, right? So, what is the meaning of this statement? It is basically to divide the country again on the caste lines, right? Which means that America is willing to go to any stage to disturb the Modi government and create instability in our nation. So I think we should be really careful of this transactional policy of America and invest only where there are long-term commitments, where there is more reliability, and where there is a trust factor. I think America must understand that the time is over when you can play with transactional policy, because now everything is quite open and comes into the media or social media very fast. So everyone knows what is happening where and who is playing games. Gone are the days when the world was quite far, where the countries were quite far from each other, right? That is not the case as of now. We know what is happening in Europe or in US or in Russia or China or whatever, right? So the days of transactional policy, I think, are limited. America must understand this and should invest in long-term commitment, whichever. We don't mind whether it commits to country A or country B or country C, but it must invest in long-term strategic policies. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching.